Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is The Edge of Adventure. Of course, my name is Adam Asher, and it's always great to have you with us. This is a very special time where we get to travel around the world and meet amazing people doing amazing things, serving others, often under very difficult circumstances. And today it's my privilege to introduce you to Tanya Weaver. She's the Executive Director at the American Foundation for Children with AIDS. We're going to learn about this wonderful organization and their heart for people and for Africa. We'll learn about that today. But first, let's just welcome Tanya to the program. Tanya, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's really good to meet.
Tanya, this is a very important work that you and your team are doing and have been doing now for quite some time.
Mhm.
Tell me about AFCA, as it's known, the American Foundation for Children with AIDS. Tell me about your mission and your heart for the people of Africa.
Sure. It's actually very, very simple. We want to help children who've been infected or affected by AIDS to be able to grow up and to have a future and to become folks that can take care of themselves. So it's simple at its core.
So, Tanya, here in the West, of course, you and I both are here in the United States of America, and we have many people that follow the program from what we think of as Western nations.
Mhm.
The AIDS epidemic, what is the status of it now? So many of us think back to maybe the 80s and the
Mhm.
90s and through the years. How has it changed, and how bad is it still?
Well, it has changed a lot, I have to say, because there's a lot better maternal care for the moms who are pregnant and the moms who have AIDS, because that's a lot of the ways that these children are getting AIDS. So there's been better care given to them, and a lot of these goals are being met. But then came COVID, and we regressed. We actually went back to about 2008 when it comes to the progress that we had made with AIDS, according to the World Health Organization. So things are back to being dire again, sadly.
Tanya, what is life like for the family, the child who is impacted with this disease?
Well, okay. So depending, first of all, if you have both parents. So that's where you would start to see how a family is affected by this. So if you have both parents alive, but one of them has AIDS, that person is not able to work a full-time job. But in most cases, we have either widows or we have children raising themselves or grandparents raising the children. And that's when things get really hairy because children raising children is not how it's meant to be. And they have to drop out of school, difficult for them to find food. Who's going to hire a child? A lot of the girls end up selling themselves into prostitution to make money, which just makes the problem worse. So it is difficult life for those families who have AIDS. Yeah.
My guest today is Tanya Weaver, and she's joining us from the American Foundation for Children with AIDS. We're going to talk today, or we are talking today, about their work in Africa, primarily. Tanya, it's what, total primarily
Five
five countries?
countries. Hmm.
Okay, what are those five countries, and how do they differ in terms of how you work?
Oh, yes, they are very, very different from each other. So we work in Malawi, and mostly there we do medical supplies for hospitals that are taking care of children. We also have set up early learning centers because we realize that children anywhere around the world, but much more those affected by AIDS and HIV and maybe being orphaned, need a very good start in education. Then we also work in Kenya. We've been there for almost 17 years now. And we work in every regard there. We have medicine, food, sustainable gardening, and animal projects. We built a maternity hospital. We've done water projects. So it's varied what we do there. In Uganda, we primarily have done medicine and livestock programs. And in Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, we do livestock projects and gardens, as well as youth programs where they can get together and receive education and have a place where they feel safe, even though they're all, um, they're stigmatized many times, but this is a safe place for them to be with people that have the same issues. And we also have a training center for women, so that they can come out of prostitution and be taken care of while they are learning a new trade. We have set up greenhouse programs for orphanages where children have AIDS. We have sent a lot of medical supplies to help set up clinics. So each program is different. Want to make sure that the programs actually correlate with the need.
Tanya, I think that leads into a next question, or a question that I have as I think
Mhm.
about this. Not from a biological standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint.
Mhm.
What causes this epidemic?
Well, it's very different in the different parts of the world why AIDS is around. And one of the reasons that in Africa it has just exploded over the years is a lot of people with transient jobs. So you have a lot of men going to work in the mines, say in South Africa or in Uganda, and there they are sleeping around with other women. Then they will come back home and they will be with their wife. And now the wife contracts AIDS and he walks back out and he's working far away for a year or two. And this cycle continues. There's also a lot of AIDS being transmitted because of sex workers that are meeting up with men that are truckers, let's say. And as they go through these trucking routes, the women are there. And so AIDS is just, it's actually more of a individual. I wouldn't know how to say it well. It's not like it's a polygamous thing. It's more of a one-on-one person thing. It's not like a guy's got 5 wives. He's got one wife, but he's with other women in other places. I hope that makes sense.
It does, and I know too from some of the research, Tanya, that I've done about
Mhm.
the American Foundation for Children with AIDS. I know that your heart and the direction of this organization is very much to create some sustainable solutions to
Mhm.
poverty. Help me understand how poverty is making this worse.
Yes, that's an excellent question. Um, as an example, right now, because of COVID, women are going and selling themselves because they're not even able to go sell items at the market. So, because markets were closed, and that created more of a sense of poverty. Seeds were not brought into countries, fertilizers were not brought into countries. So, now working in their garden became very difficult and almost impossible. So, poverty, what has done is it's just made people look for other ways to find money, to be able to pay for basic things like food, education, medicine. Um, when you don't have good medical care because you're poor, you have a higher chance of having a baby with AIDS if you have AIDS because you can't pay for the C section. A C section would actually help you. If a mom has AIDS and she doesn't want to breastfeed her child, but she's poor, how is she going to afford formula and clean water? So there's different things that are exacerbated because of poverty. And that's why we believe in trying to lift people out of poverty and giving them a chance of being able to take care of themselves, buy the medicine they need, get educated, get jobs that actually will keep them away from this dangerous cycle.
All right, let's talk about a couple of things that have more to do with the approach. And different
Mhm.
organizations have different types of approaches to solving the problems that they're facing. As we think about the help that you bring and the way that you're assisting these communities and these countries, what's really the objective on an individual level, right? I believe personally that there very much is that time when a person can't help themselves
Mhm.
and they need to be helped. And I think
Mhm.
to some degree we have all been there when we
Mhm.
couldn't help ourselves, but thankfully someone was there to help us. But the long-term solution for these communities is what?
For them to be able to help themselves. That's our goal. When we first started, we were giving medicine out because nobody was actually giving medicine out for children. Um, and then when we had some famines and some hungers happening in different parts of Africa, we started giving out a quick response to help these people survive. But in sitting down with the communities and we were discussing, how is this going to help you in the future? We said, no, we have to actually develop long-term sustainable programs, still be able to react to emergencies, but allow people to help themselves. My African friends are super hardworking. They know what they want for their children, but they just need a hand up. So we said, okay, we're going to shift focus and we're going to make this so that they can help themselves. Let's help them build their bank and allow them to buy their own medicine, grow their own food. And all of them rise up with the requirement that they help somebody else. So the idea is they can do it. Let's just help them on their way. Just like my parents would have helped me when they said, you know, do you want a college education or whatever? We all need that help. And so this is how we do it.
Tanya, you mentioned the five different countries, and
Mhm.
you talk to me about the diversity. And for those of us who don't have a knowledge of those specific countries, because I also know, again, I do my research and I like to learn about the person before I'm going to have them on the show. And I think the diversity side is one of the things that probably pulled you into this organization, or we'll talk about the start of that too, but into this line of work, I guess I should say, this love of the diversity in the different parts of Africa. Tell us about that.
It is so different place to place. You know, like in the States, so many people say, oh, Africa as a country. But there's so many countries, and within each country, there's so many amazing people and tribes and groups and languages. And so we work in capital cities, like in Kampala, which is huge, huge city of many millions, all the way to these tiny, tiny little villages in the middle of nowhere, Congo. We work in Bulawayo, the second largest city in Zimbabwe, but we also work in a small town in Kenya, close to Lake Victoria. So we go from English speaking countries because they were British colonized to French speaking in Congo because they were Belgian colonized. We go from tribal type mentality to city modern type mentality where people are more individual. So it's very diverse. It keeps me hopping because I'm changing languages constantly. I'm changing people groups constantly, how we do things, cultures. It's exciting. It really is exciting work for somebody who likes to travel and somebody who likes to learn. I've really enjoyed being able to be a part of so much difference between all these people that we work with.
My guest today is Tanya Weaver. She is the executive director at AFCA, which is the American Foundation for Children with AIDS. And it's great to get to know her a little bit today and to get to know this organization and the remarkable work they're doing in 5 particular countries in Africa, right here on the edge of adventure. Tanya, I was question, I guess, what might I have written down here is to ask you how working in this way, how this project and devoting your life to this, how it's changed you. But I think I I think the better way to phrase it is now as I get to know you even more is to say, how has this passion and all the work you've done through the years, how has it made you the woman that you are today?
Oh my, that's a big question. Um, I was so fortunate to have a childhood overseas. So my parents were missionaries, and I grew up in Colombia, South America. I watched my parents pour themselves out for others and for my sister and for myself. Um, so it has been a natural thing for me to just continue this type of work. It changes me daily. I'm humbled not only by the generosity of people that allow us to do this, but also by the generosity of heart for the people that we are serving. So I think that the biggest thing that I take away all the time about my work is first of all, what an honor it is to do this. Second of all, how hard it is to do this sometimes. The fundraising part is not fun, but also how similar we all are. And I know that people say that, and it's a little bit of a cliche, but even with all the differences of countries and languages and stuff, we're all people. And, I would want somebody to do this for my child if my child was sick. So there's this interconnectedness that I feel with folks. But at the same time, I really am just humbled at being allowed to do this work. It's a pretty fun ride, I have to say, even though it's difficult.
Tanya, take us back to the beginning of this foundation. Where did it start and why?
So one day I was in Afghanistan with my husband, Eric. We were working there for another organization, and I was pregnant with our daughter. So about 17 years ago, I received a phone call in Kabul asking where I would go when we were done with Afghanistan, because we were planning on leaving. And I said, we didn't know that we were actually looking at a map. We actually had a map out and we were looking at it and we're like, where's this baby going to be born? And the lady who called me was one of the founding board members of the organization. And she said, listen, I've known you for so long, and I think that it would be great if you helped to start this organization and help children. Where will it be based? And she said, anywhere you settle down to raise the baby. We want you to be able to raise your child, but we also want to see if you can help save some lives. And I always say it's kind of unfair to ask a pregnant woman to help babies because it was not difficult to say, of course I will do that. Of course I will. Count me in. And so it all started then. We finished our contract with our other organization, and we were home on March 14th. And on March 17th, I was in my first board meeting, big belly and all. And then 2 months later, we were off and running and working hard. So it started with a phone call in Afghanistan. And then from there, we started working in Kenya and in Uganda. And those were our first two countries.
Tanya Weaver is my guest today here on the Edge of Adventure. She's the executive director at AFCA, which is the American Foundation for Children with AIDS. We're getting to know them and getting to know a little bit about their history, what they do, and of course, getting to know Tanya as well. Now, Tanya, through the years, we don't have to dwell on this point, but through the years, you have been one of those servants that's been willing to do whatever needed to be done. Speak briefly to those people in the audience who feel like they might fall into that same category where they're passionate about something and yet they're really having to maybe serve in the area of their gifts, but they might also be having to serve in areas that maybe it's not their forte, but they do it, and they do it like you did because they care that much about the project. Your word of advice to people like that?
Just do it. I mean, I am not a public speaker, and now I have to speak in front of people. I'm an art therapist, for crying out loud. What am I doing running an organization? But when you have a heart to do something, just do it. Find a way to do it. Surround yourself with people who can teach you and who can guide you, and do it. And you'll grow. You'll grow with it. Here I am on a podcast. Who knew? So I just say, do it, and do it to the best of your ability, and always keeping in mind who it is that you're serving.
Tanya, I've noticed that the American Foundation for Children with AIDS, as you all have a couple of projects, I've noticed that you like a couple of the same words that I do. And one of those words is the word purpose. And I always talk about adventure and purpose. I know that so many of us have this desire, this calling to live an adventurous life and to get out of uh, the routine, right? And to go what I always call it beyond status quo, to break out of whatever that daily routine is. And there's something more, but you've got to be adventurous to do that. The other word or term and concept that I have built the edge of adventure around is the word purpose, because for me the adventure is not enough. For me, I need to know that somehow, in some way, it
Mhm.
also mattered.
Mhm.
And that word purpose comes up in AFCA quite a bit, in particular regarding these programs that you have where you bring people, maybe they take their vacation time from their job and they go and they decide to work with you and serve in some capacity. Talk to me about that program. What's it called? How does it work? And I'm sure it's been affected through the last couple of years, but
Mhm.
as it gets back on its feet, as the world gets back on its feet, I'm sure that's going to be a very powerful project for you guys as well. So tell me about the word purpose
Mhm.
and this idea of a vacation with purpose, this idea of transformational
Mhm.
travel.
Yeah, so the program that you're referring to is called Vacation with a Purpose. So we ask people to give their vacation time and use it purposefully, use it meaningfully. Come with us, come on a trip. I take a couple teams a year, and we have other team leaders, and we say, come with us and work in one of our projects. See for yourself that the money people are giving, that the gifts people are giving, that the efforts people are giving are actually being used. Come, paint with us, hold babies, build a house, teach English. Like, we will grab people from all walks of life. And inevitably, I'll hear, but I don't have a gift. I don't know what I can do. I'm just a teacher. Are you kidding? If you're a teacher, you are remarkable, and we will put you to work with children who need a teacher. Or you can read to them and help their English skills. Like, there, we will find a place for you in any of these trips. And what I'm always amazed by is that people who go in thinking they have nothing to give, they always come back saying, when can I go back? And that was amazing. I didn't know that I could do this. And I went in a little nervous, but I feel like I'm with family because we work together with the communities that we're serving. And um, there's value to what we're doing. It's not busy work, it's valuable, purposeful, and meaningful. So you should come along. I think that you should come and join us one day.
Well, I would love to, and I would highly recommend anybody who
Hmm.
is thinking, wants to travel and wants to travel with purpose, to get in touch with the American Foundation for Children with AIDS and talk to them about their next trip, what that might look
Hmm.
like, and how you might serve and support and come alongside them. Again, the organization is available online at afcaids.org. Let me pull it up on the screen for those of you watching the video version, afcaids.org. That's for more information about the organization, how you can come alongside them, help them out, support them, encourage them, and then also potentially participate in a trip, a vacation, a service trip that, according to what Tanya is saying, it might just change your life.
We are one of the few organizations that takes children. So if a family wants to go, we are so happy to have those children join us because we feel that it is that transformative. It can change a child's life and head them in a different direction than what they thought that they could do. So my children have been going since 5 months old and 4, respectively. And many of their friends have come along, other families with children, and they love it. So there's a little plug for families.
Well, that's something very unique about what
Mhm.
you all offer, and for families to be able to take that and experience that as a family, that's very meaningful. To be able to
Mhm.
experience it as a family, and then to, as you said, it gives the children who are getting to participate in this, it's changing their lives too at this early age, which I think is a wonderful thing. So again,
Mhm.
look them up online. AFCaids.org is the website, and we'll also have a link on theedgeofadventure.com with the post that's associated with this broadcast, and you'll be able to find it there. And just a wonderful work that they're doing. Many different things, quite a few different projects and programs.
Mhm.
The other one I want to ask you about right now is Be Mercy. Tell me about that.
Mhm. So, Be Mercy started out as a project where we wanted to build a maternity ward in Mombasa, Kenya. So there was really nothing for women to give birth at that was decent and good. So, together with a long-standing partner in Kenya, we decided to build a maternity hospital, and we ended up doing it in honor of my parents. And my mom's name was Mercy. They both passed away in 2018. Sorry, and we decided to give this hospital to a slum in Mombasa, Kenya, in their honor. So that has been done. We are still collecting funds for the last of the medical equipment that we are sending.
So Tanya, that would be something someone could participate in. It's not too late. They could actually help you guys get that done.
Yeah, the hospital itself is built, the clinic, but we're still sending the last equipment. So we're looking for funds for specific equipment and to ship it. So yes, people can still participate for sure.
And if you want to find out more about that, get in touch with Tanya. Again, her name is
Mhm.
Tanya Weaver. You can reach out to them and their organization at afcaids.org. She's the executive director, and she's been with the organization. Is that right? 16 years?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to be 17 in March. It's unbelievable.
yeah.
Unbelievable.
What a wonderful thing, and I know it's been a huge part. All of this life of service of yours has shaped you and made you the person that you are today. Talk to me, if you don't mind, couple other things I wanted to
Mhm,
get to. Would love to know the aspect of this, if you think about it in the big picture, all right?
mhm.
What are you most proud of?
Oh, the only one thing. Ah, I, there's nothing quite like seeing children grow up. Um, when I first started this, I interviewed some children in Kenya and I asked them what they wanted to be when they grew up. And they looked at me completely blankly. They literally had no idea because everybody around them had died of AIDS. And they just were blank. Whereas my 4-year-old at home was saying that she wanted to be a paleontologist, and these children just couldn't. They couldn't imagine. And, now, 16 years later, I've got kids that are teachers and social workers and violin players, and they are fabulous. They are alive. These are the same kids that couldn't dream, the exact same kids now are nurses and they're teachers. And so I think for me, even though we're not a massive organization, we are so small. Even though we're not taking care of millions and millions of children, gosh, to see kids that had no hope become hopeful and become productive adults that are healthy, I think that's the best part of everything.
Tanya, how do the communities react to you, to your uh, team, and also to the teams who are coming to serve in some way, right? These teams that might be coming from the US or
Mhm.
from around the world with, the more traditional Western approach to life. So they're on their vacation. They're there to serve. They go into a community. Is there conflict? Is that negative anyway, or what's their response to the group that comes in to serve?
Good question. So, thankfully, we've never had a negative response. But I think the reason is because we include the community when we're talking about bringing volunteers. And we ask the community what it is that they need help with. We don't just assume that we know. And then we also ask the community to volunteer with our volunteers from outside of the country. So we've been able to have people from Australia, from all different countries of Europe, United States, Canada, South America, come together and work with people from Congo, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and Kenya, and find common ground because they're working towards the same project. And I think having the buy-in of the community is always critical. That way, it's not just us imposing something. If they did not want a team, we would say no. Um, we've not had that happen yet, though. They've always been super welcoming.
Tanya, given your perspective, what would you like to see for these 5 nations in Africa? What does your heart want for the communities that you love so much?
I would want justice. I would want the poor to be uplifted. I would want equality between women and men. I would want the children to be valued. Um, but I think we need to tackle poverty because, as we discussed before, AIDS grows in poverty, and we need to tackle that. We need justice. I think that's what it comes down to. That's what I wish for those countries.
Tanya Weaver is my guest today, the American Foundation for Children with AIDS, and she's the executive director. And we're wrapping up today's broadcast and today's conversation. Tanya, what, for those listening, for people who might be considering taking a trip with you or something of that nature, someone who's at that point in their life where they've thought about serving in this way and they haven't, they want to, and they're kind of on the fence, and life is complicated, and life has gotten more complicated in the last 24 months. What's your word to that person who's feeling that tug on their heart to do something?
Call me. That would be my word. Either call me, email me, WhatsApp me. Let's chat. Let's see what is holding you back, and maybe we're the right fit for you. And maybe you need a nudge. We'll help you make that happen. So yeah, contact us.
Tanya, it's been great to chat with you. What else do we need to know about the American Foundation for Children with AIDS? Any upcoming projects? Anything we haven't covered today?
Oh, we have so many projects coming up. We are about to build a new multiplication center for animals in Congo. We're setting up 3 new greenhouses this year in Zimbabwe. We are expanding gardens and livestock projects in Kenya. So we're busy. We're still a 2.5-person staff. So if anybody wants to volunteer, even from far away, you're welcome to. Just contact us and we'll see how we can fit you in. But no, I appreciate you having me and telling people about what we do.
Well, it is a privilege to be able to do such things, and it's just a few minutes that we get to chat, and there's so much more to talk about. There's so much more that the American Foundation for Children with AIDS is doing, and so this is really just an introduction for the audience to get to know you, and also to get to know the organization. If you're watching the video version, this is their website. I've got it pulled up on the screen here. So this is what you're looking for when you go to afcaids.org, afcaids.org. You'll be able to learn about their different programs, about the different ways that you can help. And my admonition is always, if this has touched your heart in some way, and there's this special connection with Tanya, then definitely reach out to them and let them know that you heard the program, and also encourage them, and just let them know that you appreciate what they're doing, because I'm the one saying this. She didn't say this, but I'm sure it's not easy, and I'm sure there are some tough times, and the encouragement, the support, both financial and otherwise, makes a big difference for people like this. So encourage Tanya and her team, get to know them, and share this podcast out so that more people get to know about this organization and just get to know them a little bit here on The Edge of Adventure. Again, my guest today has been Tanya Weaver from the American Foundation for Children with AIDS. She's the executive director, and you can look them up online at afcaids.org. And with that, Tanya, I just want to again thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. Thanks.